Yeah, I got poisoned again. Well, I guess this time I technically had it coming. As my dad took me to dinner at Red Lobster, and he was like, "Why don't you have any money, son? Why don't you?" Whoa, whoa, whoa. And I told him, like, these fuckers at this goddamn church stole all my Zithromax money. They stole $4 billion, and I named the church. I was pissed. I said the name of the church, and he was, "Whoa, are you a member? Are you a member? You can't have that money, son." Which is just my dad being my dad. And then they sent out a member from the kitchen, and she was like, "Is there a problem? Is there a problem? I really need to get a handgun." When I say that shooting these people is the only thing they understand, because I figured, like, the next time I do that, just, and then just, she threatened me. Just picture the church. That's gonna happen every time from now on, by the way. Anyways, enough of my little fantasies. I got home. I went to take my Cho line over there. I had 3 pills left, and then there was only one. And I assume my sister kind of just took one, and I took it. Now my neck, back, spine, and kidneys are fucking in pain. And I guess they got me with some type of strychnine, but it didn't have the full effect. I got stuff in here to mitigate it. That's why I'm not like, but I got poisoned again. So I guess there's that. Once again, every time I mention these people by name, they try to murder you, because that's what God would want, is you to murder somebody to defend your pedophilic human trafficking ring where you kill and eat women's brains. It's totally fucking what God wanted. Yeah. Dude, I just picture St. Peter, whoever the fuck works the gates of heaven. Why the fuck did you guys think you were getting in? You regroup in hell, dude. You guys love perseverance. You can persevere in fucking hell. Like, just whatever. I think today is the last day for me to try and do anything. If I had any chance at doing anything, I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. I was doing the masculine energies meditation, which is something I probably should have been doing at the beginning of this. And just like I said, that Vajrapani guy, when I visualize him, he's just stagnant. He doesn't move. My masculine side just sits with its back to me. Like, I guess my manliness sits with its back to me and has this pissed off gaze. It just looks off into the distance. Sometimes it looks off into like a steel door and I'm like trapped in a room. According to the AI, it believes that because I abandoned my integrity, my masculine side has abandoned me. Which is cute, I guess. And it basically asked me if there's a point where I abandoned my integrity in this process. And then I explained to the AI, well, I tried to go file pro se federal, and then the AI was like, "Oh, that's extremely complicated, and you'd probably need a lot of help." And I said, "A lot more, because I have ADHD and a learning comprehension disorder." And the AI did a really weird thing where it helped me identify my learning comprehension disorder. Apparently, my specific learning comprehension disorder is every time I try to learn something, my brain takes it and perceives it as a threat. Yeah, it perceives learning as a threat. And it explains that we're really great at learning obscure things, like psychology and shit. We're really great at learning obscure things through, like, observation and first-hand experience. But we're shit at writing and literature. My brain is a feral mechanisms. Oh no, writing and numbers! Oh, we're under attack! Which is pretty funny. I don't blame it for that, because I was poisoned with heavy metals when I was a kid, so that explains where that came from. Yeah. I do believe at some point I do need to do something physically about Stu, and possibly any other church member in Georgia that thought it was funny to knife me in the back, because the problem with these people is nobody gives them consequences for their actions. So when they threaten you, or they steal something, or they break into your house, or they murder your wife, they get away with it. And the problem is people let them get away with it. That's what the real problem is. Somebody has to do something. Okay. And the government isn't coming because these people took over the FBI, they took over the CIA, they took over the local police. So there isn't anything left to do but the individual who has to take righteous action. And sometimes righteous action doesn't fall in line with your values or morals on any kind. And it's regretful that people force you to behave this way. But I think about this entire church. If I had to explain anything when I was a kid, anytime I tried to force anything, it always went bad. One of my first memories of trying to force something was I asked my mom if she could help me open a bag of chips, and she said, "Do it yourself!" And I grabbed the chips and I did the classic boom! And then the chips flew everywhere, and then she yelled at me and said I did it deliberately. No, I was a little kid with little kid fingers and little kid arms. I couldn't physically open the bag of chips. Well, and I think everybody's guilty of that. I don't think like that's a unique thing to me. I'm not saying, oh man, every time I open a bag of chips, no, I'm just saying that's just one statement. Another time I was working on the vacuum cleaner, I was helping my mom fix it, and then she just told me to pull the thing harder, and then I put my feet on the bottom of the vacuum cleaner, and I put all my little kid Bobby strength into it, and I just broke the bottom of the vacuum cleaner. These guys learned the exact opposite, where they were using force, and then instead of like fucking, when they broke the vacuum cleaner, they just used more force. Use more force, and I guess eventually if you use enough force, everything works. I don't know. I'm not 100% on how any of that shit fucking works, but I'm not gonna, but I was thinking about this entire situation as a whole, and it is my worst nightmare. The one fucking thing that has haunted me my entire life is stupid fucking Christian teachers screaming that I'm lazy, screaming that I don't apply myself, screaming, this is the thing, you don't have my brain, you fucking retard. But I wanted to, when these problems in my life are so prevalent that I even wrote a story, having a bit of a neural problem real quick. But I even wrote a story about what happens in my comic with Dove.Love is basically she comes across this dickhead. He's a normal human being. And he witnesses her pull, because she's a semi-demi and not a full demi, pull off a series of amazing acts as a semi-demi, and she explains that she only has super strength. She doesn't have any other, like, abilities. It just looks like she has other abilities that normal demis have. An example of this is normal demis, if they get an arm or leg ripped off, they can regenerate it. Dove can get her arm or leg ripped off, just like anybody can. But hers doesn't regenerate. It'll turn into a nub, or she has to physically cut it open and then replace the bones in it so the body knows to grow over the bones. She does not have the capabilities of full body regeneration. She does heal faster than normal people, though. This guy thinks she's just lazy. So he stages an entire thing where he traps her underground in a chasm and is convinced, it basically has a gate set up on either end of the chasm that she can't get through, and he wants her to run under, like, as fast as her sisters or brothers can run, like under like a ridiculous, it's like Mach 5 or something like that. She has to clear the room under Mach 5 and she can't do it, and this guy keeps fucking doing it, telling her she's lazy, and then she fucking loses her fucking mind. She's down there for like 10 days, she hasn't eaten, she's a fat ass like her mother, and she gets fucking pissed, and she has an ability, it's not a real ability, but because she has the ability to use stone skin, which is something her mother taught her, because she's referred to as the Stone Princess, and she has super strength. When she claps her hands, similar to the Incredible Hulk, like she does like a kind of clap you out of existence move, where the kinetic force from her claps and the waves from her claps, she releases lasers, sound lasers, by clapping her hands, and explosive light and heat, and she creates what's called a cavitation bubble. This is real science. And what happens when she's in there and she gets pissed, she tells the guy she's gonna kill him, and he's like, "Oh, well, you're trapped in that room. You can't kill me," basically. Oh, how powerful you feel. And she goes to the center of the room and she claps her hands and she starts a cavitation bubble and then it pops and it explodes and it creates like a kind of H-bomb explosion. And the guy's like, oh, you're not going to get out of that room doing that. And then she claps her hands and then she grabs the cavitation bubble and physically holds it together, which causes it to generate heat, light, and excess energy. But another thing about her cavitation bubbles is they literally rip into other dimensions. They destroy other people's realities and they break the laws of physics and time. That's how strong she is, and that's how hard she can clap her hands. As this bubble starts kind of getting unstable, she keeps stabilizing it, and it just keeps getting bigger as she stabilizes it. This isn't like a Kamehameha move. This is a panicked girl being pissed off and deciding she's going to get out of this room her way. And the dude watches as this cavitation bubble starts growing out of control, and then it turns into a black hole, and it eats a massive hole in the side of the planet. Like, it creates a massive crater because this guy wouldn't let her out of the room. That guy gets killed in the process. He gets sucked in because he's actually not that far away. He gets sucked into the black hole, he gets turned into spaghetti, and Dove has created something she can't turn off. So what she does is what she knows how to do, turn into stone, because she knows the demigod stone form is completely indestructible. So the black hole basically goes to suck everything up, and fortunately for Dove, there is a demi that specializes in creating and ending black holes. They live on the other side of the fucking planet, though. So that dickhead comes in and basically turns off the black hole and can't believe that Dove, a semi-demi, managed to create one by clapping her hands. And that dude is terrified because he's one of the weird people in my comics that's terrified of his own powers. He refuses to fight, specifically because his ability is literally to create black holes and white holes, and he can create nuclear explosions through kinetic force and friction. Heat and light, basically. He's a funny guy because his whole entire background thing is destruction creates life. How destruction and life are the same thing. Yeah. What I'm getting at with this is, I guess if I was super powered, I would just go demi and just fucking kill everybody in this fucking church. The amount of suffering these people cause other people, and the sociopathic need to just say it's good for you, like, and everything, like, even the women, like, the people who made deals with Anal Eating Mummy God, and, dude, this entire thing is funny as shit, because when I was at Papa John's, Kevin and David and Blondie, you're trying to force your values onto us! What are your values? They don't have any. You think that raping women's bad? You think that eating women's brains is bad? You think that killing people is bad? No, I no longer believe killing people's bad. I think killing you people would be the best thing on the planet. I believe if we're going to have a prosperous future, getting rid of you people is the first step to that future. And I believe that is the only way things are going to get done. It's a good thing you keep money out of my hands because I already know every step, but this is a really funny thing because I also said it to Anal Eating Mummy God when I was talking to Mary Bowberry. I said, I was like, well, you seem like a really nice person and I would really like to get to know you. And then Blondie was like, no! And I was like, oh, and she was like, well, there's a bunch of people that'll stop you if you try. And I told her, what if I killed them all first? And then Anal Eating Mummy God I didn't hear that. And I was like, you did hear that. And he's like, I didn't hear that. And then later he called me and he was like, how would you kill every member of my church? And he's like, I'm just wondering if you could do it. And I was like, well, I invented this thing when I was like 16. And I'm kind of annoyed that he sent somebody out to hypnotize me and draw him an image of what I drew, but I know it was enough that he contacted me. And he said, you don't want to do that. And I told him, I think I do. And he said, you don't want to use that device. And I told him, I think I do. And then he said, the Geneva Convention and new laws will be invented if you create that device and you use it. And I told him, I don't care. And then he said, killing us The only thing you'll do is if you kill any of us in a large number like you're planning, you're not going to be able to kill all of us. And I said, I think I just have to kill enough. And then what? I was like, and then I can go to court and tell them what happened to me, and then they can completely ignore me and give me a death sentence for murdering so many of your people. And then he said, we'll kill you before you can go to court. And I said, maybe, but I already told you I'm going to kill everybody, and I remember you told me if I ever say anything to you, that's what happens. So I'm pretty sure you guys just have to lay down and let it happen. And he said, don't go down that. You see, I don't really give a shit anymore. Like, the more this shit goes on, the further from integrity we move, okay? And yeah, my stronger self, my better self, whoever turned their back on me, Vajrapani turns his back on me in my mind. All these people abandon me. And this is why you shouldn't abandon people. Because it forces them to do worse and worse shit. Until somebody comes along and says, I'm going to help you. And once again, this feeds back to my weird comic. There's a guy named Ty Furious. He's basically abused his entire life. And then when he's unleashed on the world, it's funny because the only person more powerful than him at the time is his father, who's is like the second most powerful demi in all the land. Ty Furious murders his ass. And Ty Furious, obviously, terrible name, proceeds to plunge the world into a literal darkness, because part of his abilities, not only does he beat ass, he blots out the sun. The sun, in my comics, is where the good demis generate their power from. During the day, some demis reach their max strength. During the night, some demis reach their max strength. This falls into Flawn's category, because she's a dark demi. And she becomes hyper-powered, because she's governed under the goddess Nyx. Meaning her power comes from shadow. So when this guy plunges the entire world into darkness, the only person that's powerful enough to stop him is actually Queen Flawn. So they get into a throwdown that lasts for like some 300 years. It's a crazy ass battle that reshapes the land, builds mountains, and fucking destroys. Their fight is almost eternal, and they end up getting sucked into the Battle Universe, which is an alternative version of the planet they're on. They destroy that planet, and then they get put onto another planet in the Battle Universe, and their fight continues. Their fight is those of a god and goddess, and it is the biggest throwdown like ever perceived. And fucking Flawn comes to the realization toward the end of the fight she can't beat this guy. He is too far gone. He's demented. You can't reason with him. You can't logic with him. He's decided kill is the only choice. And she said, what kind of a world did he grow up in that he became this thing? He's basically the Broly of my universe. If you know anything about who Super Saiyan Broly is, I even created him around the same time I watched the Dragon Ball Broly movie. So while this guy is just killing and destroying, Flawn suddenly just gives him a hug and tells him, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about everything. Stop killing. And it turns out Ty Furious's weakness is love. Who would have known? Because when you come in contact with him, the last thing you want to do is give him a hug. He smells of blood and viscera. He stinks and he kills people. That's what he does. Even in the comics, there are people that try to negotiate with him. When he initially launches his first attack, there's a bunch of demis that mistake it for, oh, he's just trying to show force. And they get there and he fucking murders them outright. And there's an entire fucking thing where they realize that this guy's just a monster, and he's a monster because of what other people did. And Flawn, being a healer, heals him. And then when she comes back, she gets him to agree to say that she beat his ass so nobody figures out that his ultimate weakness is love. Thank you.